So we are already in live. Uh, Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Live with Rahan Show, second episode. I would like to convey my thanks to all participants here, especially thanks to Mr. Rob Norris to be here. We are really super excited to gather you in our live show. We are going to talk about today Canadian job market and how you can get a job. So there's another issue like as we all know that COVID-19 has taken us all by surprise. We cannot take aside this topic, whatever we talk to, whatever we discuss nowadays. So COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world, like, changed the economy as well as the opportunity also. So we all talk about this matter. So before we are going to the discussion, so I want to go for the discussion. So if you will take, if
Thank you, Rahan. This is Ifti. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Thank you,
we can
Rahan.
hear you.
This is
Yes.
Ifti.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I would love to thank all of you from core of my heart to attend our show. We are so excited to hold this show, and we can't wait to unveil our live conference. But before we start our discussion, I'm requesting to all of our guests to introduce themselves and their location for our viewers. Now I would like to request our honorable special guest, Mr. Rob Norris, to introduce himself. Please, Mr. Rob Norris.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm absolutely honored and
Can you hear
delighted.
me, Rob Norris?
Yeah,
I'm honored to join you this morning. I know there are always some technical challenges that come along, so I just applaud your willingness to persevere and help make this happen. Today, I'm delighted to come to you to join you from Saskatoon, uh, Treaty 6 territory, traditional homeland of the Métis, and most especially, I'm just delighted that you have rolled up your sleeves and begun to ask among the most significant and important of questions, and that relates to uh, our COVID and post-COVID recovery. And a lot of that relates to human recovery, and we know how important that is. But as we see increasingly, it's also vital for us to address the economic recovery, the questions of jobs and prosperity and hope for families. So thank you so much for this opportunity to join you.
Thanks a lot, Rob Norris. Now I'm giving to floor to Mr. Shofikur Chaudhary. Can you introduce himself? Introduce yourself,
First of all, thank you so much.
Mr. Shofikur Chaudhary.
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you so much, Pan Caravan YouTube channel, for arranging such important topic. And my name is Shofikur Chaudhary. Actually, I had been in Canada for 5 years. While I was in Bangladesh, I was working in Human Resources Department. I worked for about 20 years in Bangladesh in the Human Resources Department. Now I am working in a government organization in Canada. That's all.
Thanks, Shofikur Chaudhary. Now I am requesting to Imamuddin. Bye.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting, and I'm very glad to see everyone. The important issues we'll be discussing basically the job market, labor market in Canada. So I'm from Toronto, and I know most of you are from the Saskatchewan, and I'm very glad to see Rob Norris, like a good politician here. You bring, and we'll listen from him and from everyone. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Imamuddin. And now I'm going to Mr. Nasser Azad. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Mr. Rohan and Mr. Ifti, for arranging such an important discussion. I'm glad to be able to speak here with other guests. I am living in Toronto, Ontario. I immigrated from Dhaka, Bangladesh in 2018. I worked in marketing, mostly in my career in Bangladesh, and now I'm working as a marketing consultant in Toronto. And I would love to share my experience so whoever is listening, they can take some points out of it or prepare themselves better in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasir Azad. Thank you. And now I'm going to call on Mohammad Ali Shujan. Mr. Mohammad Ali Shujan, please.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
It's your floor.
Special thanks to Groups who invited to me to discuss about the good topics of the Canadian labor market and how to get a job. Here in Canada, I came in 2012. Before I have a big experience the retail. I did 10 years continue with the retail market, and here in Canada, I'm doing 8 years. So thank you to invite me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now I'm requesting to Kamara Shishdev. Mr. Kamara Shishdev, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning,
Please.
everyone, and thank you, Ryan and Nifty, for arranging that such an important show today. And is going to, I guess, help lots of newcomer and who is not even newcomer. They came here and searching their job. And thank you, Mr. Rob Norris, for joining with us. And it would be, it's our honor to, chat, live chat with you and amongst with others. And I'm from Saskatoon, and it's our Treaty 6 territory, homeland of Métis. And I'm a real estate professional here, and also I own a few small businesses. So today I'm going to share some of the story of mine, how I got my job. So I'm not the job specialist, but I can tell some of my story, so then can probably help to others. Thank you again, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody, and thanks a lot, our special guest. We are so honored to be host to you, Mr. Honorable Rob Norris. Now I'm giving the floor to the Shumon.
Thank you, Steve. So basically, I want to start from Rob Norris. I have a question for you very fast. He will be the first to answer. So we know, like Rob Norris, he served as Minister of Immigration, Employment, Advanced Education, and Labor. He do have a huge experience about the Canadian job market. So I have a question for him. That is like, what is the present situation of Canadian job market, and especially the situation of Saskatchewan job market? So one supplementary question: the COVID-19 is going to affect the job market, or like what will be the scenario after COVID?
Well, let me start by just saying thanks for that key question. I think it's important for us to start maybe even with a little broader lens, and that broader lens is essentially this: based on what we're hearing from the World Bank, the global economy is expected to contract, that is, shrink by about 5% this year because of COVID. The International Monetary Fund has then located within that global context, that global shock. They're suggesting that Canada could suffer up to about an 8% contraction. These are maybe a little bit pessimistic, but I want to make sure that we understand the context within which we're working. There's a lot of work to do, and so that's why this is such a valuable conversation. Specifically to your question, as it relates to the job market today in Canada, there are more than 70,000 jobs available in Canada, and in Saskatchewan, there are more than 3,700 jobs, and those are categorized across a pretty significant array of job categories, or what we could call NOCs, to use a federal term. But the bottom line is, across a variety of communities and across a variety of sectors in Saskatchewan, today there are still a few thousand jobs open. Now, I would add one more piece to your broader question about how to get a job, and that is, how can we further see the creation of jobs? Because I want to make sure that the value of small and medium-sized business owners, of entrepreneurs, is also put into this conversation, because there may be some very interesting opportunities for entrepreneurship. And I appreciate you raising the fact that I was the Minister of Immigration from 2007 to 2012, where I rolled out Saskatchewan's immigration strategy, which at the time we anticipated there would be between kind of 10 and 15,000 newcomers per year come to the province. I'm happy to say that Saskatchewan is up about 110,000 newcomers, and we have a record population. So our strategy continues to work. Some of the categories have changed along the way, but newcomers continue to be a real lifeblood of Saskatchewan's economy. I see that actually increasing, and here's why. We've recently seen some really interesting numbers for Saskatchewan as it relates to exports. And in fact, a couple of executives from the British Columbia Business Council have come out and said, you know, Canada's exports, as they connect into some key industries, are going to help and really have to help drive Canada's post-COVID recovery. And then we can think about what those might look like. And certainly they've helped to identify energy, mining, obviously agriculture and agri-food, and we've got lots to talk about that, forest products, and the list goes on. Now, this is important because within the Saskatchewan context, we know about the importance of food, fuel, fertilizer. Here's what we've seen in the first quarter of 2020. That is, even as COVID was setting upon the world, we've actually seen Saskatchewan exports increase. Crude oil, canola seeds, pulses, canola oil, ag machinery, oats, and soybean. And so we can see that, and in fact, Saskatchewan is among at the forefront of seeing those exports increase during the first quarter. So it goes to this notion of jobs being available. There are thousands in Saskatchewan, even though the economy is taking a hit, but there are also real investment opportunities. When we think about what that means today, I can put it in the context of Saskatoon. Saskatoon is often seen as the entrepreneurial center of our province. And when I was minister, I took the entire, if you want, business branch and investor entrepreneur branch of the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program, and I brought it to Saskatoon and made sure that they were positioned to succeed. And so when we talk about what jobs are available, the numbers are there, 70,000 in Canada, almost 4,000 in Saskatchewan, but there are real investment opportunities that continue today. And we see those investment opportunities, especially for newcomers, aligning nicely with some key sectors for us as it relates to food. Our contribution to global food security is only going to increase. You've just seen a $4 billion announcement by our premier and by the government of Saskatchewan. That signals a very, very significant long-term commitment to see Saskatchewan continue to play a lead role globally. Then when we talk about fuel, we can see that on crude exports alone, they helped lead Saskatchewan's exports even in the first quarter of this year. And then obviously in fertilizer, we can think about the key role of our mining sector in this case as it pertains to and is particular to potash. So I'm very bullish. There are jobs, but there are also jobs to be created by entrepreneurs in Saskatoon and in Saskatchewan, thereby contributing to the Canadian economic rebound.
Thank you very much, Rob Norris. So for your brief explanation, what's going to be happen after COVID or before, what's the current position in Canadian job market, especially in Saskatchewan, we are talking about. Thank you very much once again. So yeah, if you can go for next question. Just give me a moment. Yeah, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Now I would like to ask a question to the Mr. Kamanash is there. As we know, you lived in Saskatchewan for a long time. That's why I want to ask one question about this topic. Just can you give just a comparative snapshot regarding the job in Canada, regarding the job situation in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan, now versus present and versus 10 years ago? What's the difference? The comparison snapshot. Can you give?
Yes, thank you, Ifti, for your important questions. So you know what? I will go with based on what I seen in my personal experience. So when I moved to Saskatchewan in 2008, everywhere I used to see there is help wanted. Okay, nowadays Rob just mentioned then that we have a 3,000 job available in Saskatchewan. But if I compare from before, then I'll feel that our economy uh, is when in 2008 it was very peaked in that time, so it was very stronger than now. But I don't know what the actual fact yet. I didn't analyze was the real fact. But on my personal experience and what I seen everywhere, I guess it could be that time there was shortage of people. Now a lot, we increased about 110,000 people last few years. It could be another reason. Then we don't see that many um, advertised job available in everywhere. But when I moved in Saskatchewan, I applied for in 2008, and one day I got 3 jobs. So I guess scenario being changed now is little bit of difficult than before to get job here, but still we are blessed. We are one of the uh, one of the province that we still offering job. And then COVID, even though there was a COVID-19 pandemics, but we okay. And Rob just told us then we're exporting. Our first quarter was really good, and hopefully like second quarter will be better than the first quarter. And and but in overall Canada job situation, I guess you guys already know, and it was everywhere in the news. Then we right now the unemployment rate in Canada is the highest in last decade. Uh, I don't know how long ago it was same like in May, based on that one of the financial post here, they said like unemployment rate in Canada in May 2020 is 13.8%. So, but this is going to be over now because all business are reopening, and I think we are coming to the better days. But especially in Saskatchewan, I we are we are not worried because we got lots of uh, mining in here. And then we heard that good news, rare earth mineral, we just found it, and there would be lots of job also in that sector soon. And our crude oil is doing well, and hopefully the mining will be, our potash will come on their golden age again. So then our Saskatchewan economy will be get going again, like since when 2008 we moved in here. 2007 there was I guess golden age of Saskatchewan when Rob and Sax Buddy took over from NDPs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kamanashi. You are amazing guy. So you were leading our community for long. Like it was amazing period. Especially, I want to give you thanks for everything. And now I want to. My question is for Mr. Imamuddin. So we know you are working with career for long in Ontario, and you are one of the career specialists there. So I have a question for you, like very basic question for the newcomer. So when a newcomer come in Canada, uh, leaving his back home profession, so when he is coming here, it takes 3 to 4 years to think about it. Should I go with my back home profession, or should I start with new profession? So it takes 2 to 3 years to think about it. So could you please tell me what should be the uh, first step for newcomer to think about their first career, to choose the career, please?
Uh, Thank you, Raihan, Ifi, and all the discussion. Basically, um, when the newcomer come to Canada, they have someone has very high expectation, whatever they did before, and they want to do the same thing in Canada. But here, the job market is totally different from other countries to Canadian job market. So the thing is, like what first a newcomer, sometimes it is not true that it will take like more than 3 4 years. Sometimes it can be more longer. It can be more shorter. Yeah, someone. If I give you my example, when I came to Canada in 2010, after 1 year I got my job in my own profession. So the reason is first you have to think what you will do. Like you have to think about your career plan. So when you will think about your career, like what you will be doing, so then you can proceed step by step. Like for example, if you want to be a like marketing manager, so you have to figure out what the jobs are, how to get them. So this is one of the things, and then you can build your network, and then you have to prepare your resume, something like that, and you know how to the job search knowledge. Like job search knowledge is very important in Canada because every country has different job. Networking is common, but job search knowledge here, you have to know where the jobs are and how to get them. So it's like my wife, her English was not that much good. Then I taught her like, okay, you can make a cold calls, like develop your English language because so many people are coming. English is not their first language, so they have very high education, they have experience, but they don't have like language not very good English knowledge. They cannot do very well in the interview. They and the resume is different. Like you have to prepare your resume very marketable to compete with others. So you have to go the lot of like employment center in every places all over the Canada. So if you get help from the employment consultant or career specialist, they can help you to prepare your resume. So this is also important. And one of the most important thing is networking. I see like 70 to 80% people get jobs. It does not matter what kind of job. So if you have very strong networking skills, so you can get a job. So those are the things like when a newcomer come to Canada or anybody like a Canadian citizen living here. So they have a strong networking skills. They have career plan. So this will work. Uh, the situation right now is like people without job and job without people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are without jobs. The previous discussion told like 13% unemployment rate, but at the same time, some positions are still available. They're like without job. So this is like is I will say is you have to prepare. You have to do the research like what the jobs are available. You have to develop what are the needed like job requirements. Is for example, if you have need some certification, you have to do that. You can change you like the COVID-19 has changed everything, not only in Canada, all over the world. So we don't know exactly which market job will be available. We can assume the like for health sector has a lot of jobs available all the time before and in the future. So this is one of the things. The food market, the Rob also mentioned, like food market is very, there are a lot of job creating. So you have to do research. What are the requirements? If you can do some certification, if you can do some volunteering, this is also important in Canada. The beauty of Canada, I see when I come to Canada, the past, I went settlement agency and I volunteered almost 1 year. This help, and finally I get a job, the same organization as an outreach worker. So it helped me a lot. Still, I am working as a career specialist in Employment Ontario, and I am volunteering like 20 hours to different community agencies, like helping from home. So this will develop my knowledge. So I will say, like, every who are looking for job, not stay at home like this COVID, you can like use your time to how to develop your knowledge by how to job search, how to prepare resume, how to networking. So then definitely it will not be a very challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Imamuddin. I will come you again with details. So I have right now one question for Rob Norris. This question came from the one our viewer. So can you see the question, Rob, please?
Yeah, you bet I can.
Yeah, so could you be able to answer this question? His question is like, is there any opportunity for a textile engineer to build a healthy career in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan? He is questioning from Bangladesh, please.
Yeah, you know, I always advise people, no matter where they are in the world, go to the saskjobs.ca website, and it lists both via community. So, you know, this morning in Saskatoon, there are about 945 jobs in Saskatoon, and then to be able to, you know, really drill down and communicate and connect with individual employers. And that's the power of that saskjobs.ca website, is it allows for that direct connectivity around, you know, across the country and around the world. So that's the first piece that I would say. The second piece that I would say is to simply reinforce that there are real challenges today. There are challenges in Saskatoon. There are families suffering here. There are families suffering across the province and across the country, and we know globally. But there are some real opportunities here. And so if that person says, you know, is there a specific job that I can get into today? That's really a conversation that starts with the employer and ultimately moves through the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. Again, in Canada, what's important to remember is in the Canadian Constitution, Section 95, immigration is a shared jurisdiction, or what we call concurrent jurisdiction. And so it's about the province and the federal government working together, and it's about making sure that you know, working with the employer, there's an opportunity to move forward. But there are also investment opportunities here, and that's why I keep going back. When we think about trade between Saskatchewan and Bangladesh, a couple of years ago, Saskatchewan exports to Bangladesh were about just over $300 million a year. Last year, they were closer to $600 million a year. You know, almost that 100% increase. It was just under that. There are real opportunities both on the Bangladeshi side and on the Saskatchewan side, as those numbers continue to be bolstered, for people in both countries to plug into and benefit from that increased trade volume. And that's really just about seeing a value add proposition. Kaminashis and others are actually involved in some conversations with me about ways to engage more local entrepreneurs, including some Indigenous communities, with greater opportunities to engage in Bangladesh. And I'll offer a quick example of a benefit there. A couple of years ago, we held a special summer course at the University of Saskatchewan for students from Dhaka University. And we ensured that the students that were here had an opportunity to hear from a range of leaders in our community, including one of our young Indigenous leaders from a nearby community, Dakota Whitecap First Nation. And and the counselor who came from Dakota Whitecap reinforced that Indigenous peoples can actually be very, very vital entrepreneurial partners. That student went back, really had a thorough look at Indigenous communities within Bangladesh. Sometimes they're maybe called the hill tribes, and partnered with some of those communities on coffee development. And today you see kind of hill track coffee that has its roots in part through lessons learned in Saskatchewan. There's an example where Indigenous producers in Bangladesh are now engaged in the economy in some new ways. They used science and technology to actually refine the taste of the coffee. They used cutting edge marketing techniques to come up with the coffee. And I think they even have some retail outlets that probably would be familiar with others, and created new jobs and value. And so I use that opportunity that we've seen evolve as a case study to say, part of what we can do is say what jobs are available in Saskatoon, or what jobs are available, but also what jobs can be created. What's the value add potential for looking at some of the challenges that we're facing in new ways? And so, I specifically on the question, there are opportunities to connect and contact directly with those employers, work through the SIMP officials. We also work with the Canadian government, but look beyond the list of what jobs are available. That's my advice right now. What jobs might there be created to help foster and fuel this economic recovery? And that's just not a Saskatchewan question or a Canadian question. That's a global question. And entrepreneurship is going to be vital in our recovery.
Thank you very much. Now I'll give the floor to Ifti. Please go ahead.
Now my question is to Mr. Shafiqul Chaudhary. I know you work for human resources. That's why I have a question for this reason. As a Bangladeshi immigrant, just to get a better job in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan, what they are needed, means what kind of preparation they needed.
Oh, just give me a moment.
Can you hear me?
Just give me a moment. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask the question again.
No, go ahead. He listened that.
It's okay. I'm good to go. Thank you so much, Ifti, for your good question. Before going to the answer, my first message is you have to come in Canada as a human resource and become a human capital in the job market. So, especially for Bangladeshi who are planning to come in Canada, they have to take some basic preparations to get a good job in Canada, or it is in Saskatchewan, to lead a good life as well. So whatever we are finding in our practical scenario, who are coming in Canada, most of the people, we are not taking good preparation. So if we can take a good preparation based on like a good planning, we can get a good job and we can lead a good life as well. So in that case, for example, we have to take the preparation based on re-engineering, considering like competition, change, and customer. Because the job market in Bangladesh, who we worked or working still, a little bit different from Canadian job market. That's why we have to think about the competitors, because our competitors are going to be changed, culture is going to be changed, overall everything is going to be changed. The first and foremost barrier is language. For example, before coming to Canada, we have to develop our speaking ability and listening ability, because this is the most important factor to get a good job and retain that job. For example, we have so many training institute and so many online institutes or so many medias or so many devices, we can develop our speaking ability and listening ability, especially in English. So if we can develop our English, for example, someone is speaking, if I can understand him or her 70%, I think it's good to go. Just on the other hand, if I can make understand my listener 70%, it's also good to go, because 30% I can guess, 30% he or she can guess. That's why before coming to Canada, obviously we have to develop our English language in terms of speaking and listening. Number one. Number two, for getting a good job, obviously we have to evaluate our certificates. So there are so many organizations in Canada who used to evaluate the certificates, academic certificates like WES, ICAS. These sort of organizations used to evaluate our academic certificates. This is the number two. So obviously, whenever we are coming, we have to do these two basic things. Then whenever we are coming to Canada, then we have to wait for 3, 4, or 5 months. Sometimes we are going to be very crazy to get a job to earn money for the survival. But that, according to my opinion, that won't be the good decision. First, after coming, we have to wait for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Normally, according to the survey, we know if anyone come to the Canada, he or she needs to get a job minimum 4 months. That is from one survey. So after 4 months, one immigrant is getting his job. But some exceptions are available. Some are getting right away. That is different. But within these 4 or 5 months, we have to gather more informations. Like there are so many information provider centers in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan and Saskatoon as well. For example, Open Door Society, then the Global Gathering Place, International Women of Saskatoon. These sort of organizations are always helping immigrants to provide informations, how to get a good job, how to lead a good life, how to get different programs, courses, these sort of things. So within 4 or 5 months, we have to take some information. We have to obtain some informations. Whenever we will get all the informations, and side by side, we have to get informations regarding the job market. What sort of jobs are available in my province? For example, I'm living in Saskatchewan. That means in the city Saskatoon. So I have to take all the job related informations from for Saskatoon, and all the training, learning, educational institutions in Saskatoon, and all the required informations. First of all, I have to obtain. Then I have to take decision. I can take decisions in 2 ways. One is short-term decision, another one is long-term decision. So if I think I will start a job, then I will develop my career in my certain field. For example, especially in Canada, it's pretty difficult to get a relevant job, whatever I did in my back home. So it's not a pretty easy, especially in Canada. Canada's job market is like other developed countries across the world, but Canada always used to maintain some standard, which is actually, I appreciate this, because no one without being a human resource can get a good job here. Obviously, you'll have to prove yourself. We shall have to prove ourselves as a human resource. Then we can get a good job. Otherwise, we shall have to do general jobs. So general jobs like retail jobs, like restaurant jobs, like coffee shop jobs. But in retail jobs, you can get some professional jobs as well. So in that case, we have to make ourselves human resources, like through these sort of ways, then we can get a good job. So in a nutshell, I would say language development in terms of speaking and listening is important. Then we shall have to evaluate our certificates before coming here. Then after coming here, we have to obtain all the informations, then we have to take the short-term or long-term plan, how we will proceed to get a job and to lead a life. So if we can make a good plan, then we can get a good job, then we can lead a good life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shafiqul Chaudhary, for your brief explanation. So now I would like to ask Mr. Nasser Azad. My question is for him. Can you just unmute yourself, please, Mr. Azad? Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So my question is like a very common question for newcomer when it's related. So I have a question. As I know, when you were in back home, you served, like you worked for so many multinational company over there in Bangladesh. So what do you think when you moved to Canada? Why did you have to have new education here to start your new career? As I know, you started here as a marketing consultant here. Why did you have to have the new degree from here? Though you already work for so many multinational company in back home, I mean in Bangladesh, and you did very good education, like from North-South University, one of the prominent university in the Bangladesh. So could you please tell me why did you take it and what the advantage is you got from the diploma or the courses?
Thank you, Mr. Raihan. I will share my experience, and I think some people can relate to that, because I think I am the earliest. You guys have been here for a long time. I arrived in Canada in June 2018, so around 2 years now. As you have already said, I did work for some multinational companies back in Bangladesh, and last time before coming to Canada, I was working as a brand manager, and I wanted to get into marketing. So that was my preferred sector. And as Mr. Shafiqul already said, it's very hard to get your desired field or into your expected field of work in Canada because of the difference of culture, difference of how it works in different countries. So before coming to Canada, when I received my PR, I actually thought about how to get in, and I wanted to get an understanding of the culture. I wanted to get to know more people so that I can get started with the networking. The biggest benefit I received from my degree, I did my master's in marketing at Schulich School of Business, which is one of the very good ones, known especially for marketing. I researched which one would be better for me, and I especially wanted to get into the networking before I get into job market. A lot of the people, I would say, struggled with networking because back in Bangladesh, we don't think about networking too much because the culture is different, and networking here is different, and the online discussion and with the digital activities, it helped me a lot to do some research, talk to different people, what's important, what's not important. And I found out that networking would be very important, especially for marketing. Which is not a technical field. It's not dependent on certifications. It's not dependent on degrees mostly. So when I got into my degree and I completed my one-year program, I found out that I expanded my network beyond my first circle, which is people usually know who have they've been touched with before coming to Canada as well. That helped me a lot because my teachers, my classmates, and everyone helped me a lot to get to know more people. I went to a lot more networking events than I could have gone without the degree. The institutions help a lot. There are different events, students can participate. And the biggest benefit, as I've already said, is the connection or the network I have created within a very short period of time. So apart from that, the education also helps to understand the differences in culture in marketing or any field. As you guys have already worked back home mostly, you know that there are some differences. It can be 20%, it can be 30%, it can be 50% even. So if we can understand the difference before coming here or even after coming here as early as possible, we can actually strategize how to deal with it, how to minimize the gap, and how to prepare ourselves. In terms of job market, there are some small changes that I found out after coming here. With the expansion of digital media, people are learning more before coming here in Canada as well. Like, we didn't face any resume or CV screening process, which a lot of the Canadian companies go through, softwares, keyword matching. These are the technical things that we didn't know. And when I came to Canada, I started to learn about things that is important to get noticed through networking, through CV, through networking events, to talking to people, mentorship. All of those things help in long term, and education definitely helped me in terms of networking and getting connected with the people I wanted to work with in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nasir Ajat. So next question, like I will go for Mr. Ali. So he is working in retail sector for a long time. We know retail is the very huge sector in Canada. Like most of the people when we come here, so we have, like as Mr. Shofiqul Chaudhary said, we took some time to get into our line block.
I can't hear you.
Are you hearing me now? Just give me a moment. I'm sorry for the technical issue. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, Mr. Kamanish, can you get out and get in again, please? And I will request you, if you hear, okay, Mr. Ifti, I will ask you to call Mr. Kamanish, tell him not to use the wireless headphone. Please call him by in person. Mr. Ifti, can you hear me? Thank you, Ifti. Call Mr. Kamunashis not to use the wireless headphone. Thank you. So yeah, I'll continue. Mr. Ali, my question is for you. So as we know, the retail is the huge sector in Canada. You are working in retail sector for long. So could you tell me, like, how people can be successful in the retail sector? Can you please tell me this situation with your experience, please?
Yeah, thank you, Shuman, for this question. We all know about the retail. So here in Canada, there is a big market, the job market for retail store. And people in Canada came, they don't have any idea about the market, also the retail job. Especially for me, when I came in Canada 2012, I don't even any idea about the shop, about the retail market. Although I was a retail manager in our back home more than 10 years, but when I started in Canada, when I came in Canada 2012, I don't have enough money to survive more than 2 or 3 months. Then I was thinking, okay, I have to get the job as early as possible. Then what I did, I had a experience about the retail. Then I was thinking that, okay, I'm going to start my job for my own field that I did before, to starting a job. So then I tried to search a job, and then I got a job, retail store, within a short times. Then I start my job, and then as a starting job, I was doing good. And then within a short times, I got a promotion, and then I switched my job from one retail to another retail. So that was my story. But I'm going to talk to the people who were thinking to come to Canada, who were thinking about the Canadian job market, who are going to survive or start their job and retail. They need to think couple of things. So first things, the retail store. So you have to be very careful to talk to the other people. So as Topikul mentioned that listening and speaking. Those are the first two things to develop your language. So if you develop these two things and you are in Canada, you will get a job retail market very shortly. And you have to search that Rob mentioned by the job search engine, then you will get a job. And also, if you have a communication with the other people, for networking, for your friend, from your family member, from your community people, then you will get some information about the retail job. If you got that information, if you apply, and I hope you will get a job. But whenever you will get a job, you have to keep to continue. The two things you have to maintain. Retail job is a very hardworking job. If you are a hard worker, if you are committed to your job, I hope you will get it better. You will do it better day by day. And retail job is always, you have to work with your management. Some look like your manager, your assistant manager, your other worker, other department manager. So if you show yourself, you are a hard worker, you are committed, you have a knowledge to your job, then you will survive very shortly to your job. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali. So I will read out one comment I got in my inbox. This is to Mr. Norris, Rob Norris. So I'll ask. So he was trying to tell, like, okay, I'm just, if I read properly, yeah. So he was trying to tell, like, one thing. He's saying he's from Bangladesh. He's in Canada right now. So he was thinking, like, he did very good degree from back home, and he was doing very good job in Bangladesh. So his question is, why when he was coming here, though he was qualified and everything was good, like only just because of the education from Canada, they are not going to get into the line job. So do you think, or do you have any plan, or do you see any prospect one day our back home certification will be approved by Canada? Let me unmute you, please, Rob Norris.
Yeah, this is a crucial conversation for Canada, and we're making progress, but it is and continues to be a source of real frustration, and that is credential parity and credential recognition. When I was in government, we actually ran a pilot project with an organization, an institution called Sask Poly, to see if we could actually facilitate and accelerate that kind of recognition, identify what gaps were, and begin to close those gaps, specifically saving the newcomers all kinds of time and money, and also helping to satisfy some of the labor market demand here. The easy answer in Canada is there's a lot more work to do. And we need to make sure that those stories, those frustrations, come to the fore and continue to push Canadians. There's no consolation in saying we're also working on elements of this as it pertains to even getting some credentials recognized across borders within the country. It's not an excuse. It's just simply to say we've got to continue to make progress on this. And now is probably a good time for governments and regulatory agencies and entities to pay some attention to this. I do want to back up on, if I may, on the retail conversation. The retail conversation is a vitally important conversation. Recently, Minister Baines in Ottawa announced Canada's Industry Strategy Council, and the retail sector has a seat at that table, and that council is really it's been given the mandate to help focus and fuel Canada's economic recovery. And so it is of significance that the retail sector is there. I'll add one more kind of idea or suggestion into the networking piece. Even though we've all been in relative isolation and working on our own there are always ways to reach out. And as that council was named, and the individual, they're industry leaders from across the country, with a couple of exceptions. One of those exceptions is Dr. Mona Niemer. She serves as Canada's Chief Science Advisor, the Prime Minister's Chief Science Advisor. She's also on that. So I thought, how am I going to reach out in a unique way to all of those participants? And so I sat down and hand wrote them notes of congratulations. And one of those participants just got back to me. We just connected in on another file. So it's to go to your point, where there's a will, there's a way. You've got to find ways to build those networks, especially in this COVID time. It's about being creative, it's about being personal, and it's about finding unique ways to reach out and really help tell at least a small portion of your story, and try so that it resonates with others. I just can't compliment this group enough for putting an emphasis on networking. It is vital to do. It's about building relationships and ultimately about building trust.
Yeah, I like to add on this topic too, because I guess Robin, then when you, me, and our delegation from Saskatchewan was meeting with the Prime Minister of Sheikh Hasina in Toronto, I proposed there that how we can, these two countries, this education system could be the similar, and how they can recognize them. Then, based on that, I was specifically, putting that emphasis on the nursing sector and some vocational things. So I know you already worked on that nursing sector. I guess there's some progress going on. Then how the Filipino and Saskatchewan has that education contract, that whoever come from Philippines, if they have the nursing education there, they can have one exam here and they can start nursing, because their curriculum based on our Canadian curriculum. So then there is a one way, like if our Bangladeshi education system worked with Canadian education system, then I think this would be the there is the way to that we can recognize each other, our education from back home to here. And this is I think our high official should look this on more closely, because I proposed it already a few years ago. But there is another way to overcome this too. I understand frustration. So there is right now there is everything is like most of the things as a online learning. Before we came to Canada, if we do some online course, like let's say I'm an accountant, okay, so before I came to Canada, if I do my fundamental accounting from any of the colleges here, UFS, SIA, even North Plain College, they are offering that online basis. So at least I can start my work as a bookkeeper here. So, but we don't think that way. We always thinking, okay, I'm an accountant there and I have to get the accounting job here. But there is a way to start. You can get in the system to doing these courses, and it's all about online. This is a matter of time. You take your, you're coming to Canada, you take your 6 months of time and do this based on your career. If you are engineer, do some basic courses before you come. At least you have some Canadian experience before you enter to Canada. So I meet one of my clients. He's from South Africa. He's an accountant. He said, like, look, Deb, before I come here, I went to Saskatchewan all job market website, and I found my what I have to be get a job right away to be in my accounting field. So he did some courses even before he landed in even Saskatchewan. So he got a job in after 1 week with one of the biggest company, FCL, Federated Co-op. So the reason was, like, there is a gap between us and the other people, that we always think that, hey, I have to get the job here, I have this qualification, but I don't think myself how we can advance before even I come. Let's say I'm an engineer and I came to Canada. So even I do some Imam Bhai there, he mentioned it before, then your education advancement. Yes, instead of getting that survival job right away, if I do some kind of my let's see the diploma. Like they are looking for Canadian certificate. You have enough experience. You have all your education. Just you are missing little piece here. So if you can do that, then get your this system right away. Plus, you guys are talking about like that is the most important thing is the volunteering. Like it happened to my life when I was in Europe. We were a student. Europe is a job short. We had a group of students in 25 in one batch, like who came from Asia. Everyone was looking for job. But when I started, I was looking for a volunteering because I didn't have any experience about that field. How I can work as a dishwasher, even I don't know how the kitchen operate. So that's why I went to the walk up a restaurant and I asked this guy, hey, can I have a volunteer in your place in 2 weeks? You don't need to pay me anything. Just I'd like to learn. So after 1 week, my volunteer they hired me. They hired me. This is like the one of the good story that we always can think a little bit differently instead of searching job. If we started, I have my field on whatever my field, go in this industry and ask these guys, hey, I came from abroad. Can I have some volunteering job with you guys? So it's a very very key point. And then of course the language, like all before we come, this is we always blame here. Oh, we came and I was very good life, and then now I am stressed. Like if you can prepare yourself before you come, it's a very way. Think outside of box. This is the most important thing. Think outside of box. Do things differently. Then your life would be easy. That's it. Sorry,
Thank,
I take some
yeah,
other times.
thank you very much. No, Mr. Kamanish, I will request you to like someone like text me like your voice is like cracking. If it will be great if you can take out the wireless headphone, it makes noise. If it is possible, just speak in front of the yeah wireless all time makes
Yeah,
the. If we can do that,
sure. I'll do that.
yeah. So now, so if we will come to Kamunanshi later on, I'm going to the Mr. Imam. Uh, so my question, I'm going to unmute him, or he can do himself unmute. Oh, okay. So now it's good. So my question is for Mr. Imam. So though you explained little bit in your previous answer, that is like, is there anything, any trick in writing the resume when we are writing the resume? Because what I found, most of the people were, though they do have the quality and qualification, they are not getting calls from the employer when they're applying for any post. So do you think is there any technical trick writing the resume or CV? Please.
Thank you, Raihan. You are right. Like resume is like you have to sell yourself, like the tools. How you can sell you to the employer. So this is like resume is not you will get a job, but you will get an interview. So if your resume will be marketable, so then maybe they will call for an interview. Like for a job, hundreds of thousands of people are applying for a position. So your resume has to be marketable first. So you have to see like what are the requirements. I see as a career, especially a lot of people like the same resume sent to every job. So this will not work. So if you are looking for a specific job, you have to first read, analyze the job posting, like what they are looking for, and how you can relate your knowledge. For example, I help a lot of youth. They come to me like they say, I don't have any experience in my whole life. I say, hey, if yeah, you have entertained your friends at home when they come, or you say just get out. They say no, definitely I entertain my friends. I say how are you, everything. So this is your like customer service experience. So you can write down in your resume like I have customer service experience. So in our like daily lives, we get a lot of knowledge, lot of experience. So we can put it like nicely in our resume. So if you have not any specific uh, paid experience, job experience, but if you can do some volunteering, for example, if you want to be a career specialist like me, What I did, I don't have any paid experience before, like as a career specialist. So I start like volunteering, and then I nicely presented in my resume that I have client preparing resume, career counseling, and everything. So then I start getting interview. So this will help. Like you have to match your resume like what the employer looking for. If it is matched, when employer convinces like, hey, I am looking like exactly this person because he has the experience, employer will not take the risk to hire you, because I think Mr. Shofikur Chaudhary mentioned as his human research specialist that you have to be they will not take risk, like they have to think like you will be an asset for the organization or the company. So when they will think that your resume is the best, you will be maybe asset. So then they will interview you. Yesterday, I interviewed few people for I am president of an organization named Canadian Center for Information and Knowledge. So we are going to hire 2 person as a summer student, under Canada Summer Job Program. So we interviewed everyone. Like we finally selected 2 person for hiring. We are very much convinced that their resume was good, their interview was good. So and they what we thought, like as a member of interview board, they will be asset for our organization. We are 100, but so those are the most important things. So the resume is one of the tool. Then you have to be your networking skill, your interview skill. So everything when it match, then you will get a job. Thank you, Rahan.
Thank you, Mumbai. So now I would like to request Mr. Ifti to ask question to the panel.
Okay. Okay. Now I want to ask question to Shofikur Chaudhary. To get a job, Shofikur Chaudhary, can you hear me?
Yeah, just give me a moment. I'll unmute. Yeah, go ahead. He's
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay. To
So
get a
Mr.
job
Chaudhary,
or
to
to
unmute
retain a
yourself.
job.
Sorry to interrupt, Ifti.
Uh,
Mr. Shofikur Chaudhary, can
okay,
you
I have
do
to
unmute yourself? Unmute. Do unmute, please. I cannot do because you did yourself.
to me or Shofikur?
No, Shofik, Ifti is good. Mr. Shofik,
Shofikur Chaudhary, can you unmute?
we cannot hear anything. You did unmute. You did mute. No, we cannot hear anything. You are in unmute. Mute. Do the unmute in your computer.
You have
Unmute.
to unmute yourself.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ifti.
Okay, now you can hear me. Okay, to get a job.
Yeah, I can hear you.
And to retain a job, yeah. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, now I can ask you a question. Okay,
Yeah.
to get a job and retain a job, in Canada, for immigrants, like what's procedure needs to be followed up.
Thank you so much, Ifti, again. Actually, whatever I would like to share in terms of my practical experience in Canada, in Bangladesh, as well as from the human resources point of view. So actually, what is happening in the job market when one person is going to be hired? Normally, HR department uses to collect the resume or CVs from external or internal sources. Then they are doing some scrutinize. So after scrutinizing, they are just obtaining the potential candidates. Then with the permission or approval of line managers, they are offering interview for the potential candidates. So in that case, especially in Canada, according to my experience of getting a good job, what we have to do, first of all, whatever Mr. Imam here to us, we have to go through the job posting in terms of whatever skills, whatever academic background, whatever trainings they require. So we have to lay down or go through these sort of things very carefully. Then we have to customize our resume ourselves. For example, we know that there is a difference between resume and CV. If employer is asking resume, obviously we have to make a resume. if employer is asking for CB, obviously we have to make a CB. That should be customized. For example, whatever I saw in my case in Bangladesh, one person is making one resume or CB and he is making photocopy for Lotsa. And he's submitting here and there, same CV, same resume. But that should not be done in Canada because the employers of Canada is very specific. And earlier I said they used to maintain some very good standard. So that's why when we'll go for applying for any job, we have to go through the career opportunity job posting very carefully, what their requirements. Then I will make a resume or CV and I will relate those things, whatever I have or not. If I have those sort of skills, academic background, then I will make a resume or CV and I will put exactly what their requirements. For example, they ask for good communications skills in speaking and listening in English. I have to put like this, as it is. Like you will have to think the employer is like a computer. That is my from my own experience. So according to their requirement in terms of skills, in terms of academic background, in terms of other curriculum, you'll have to put everything as it is. So for different employers, I have to make resume or CV different way according to their based on their requirement. Number one. Number two, I have to make a cover letter for every job application. That means whatever we call it, job application or cover letter. Whatever we did in our Bangladesh, especially I saw in South Asian people as well, whatever we used to do, cover letter is not an important factor for our resume. But here, whatever I am finding, the cover letter is a very important factor. So if they are asking for resume, we shall have to make a biodata in a short form, especially my name, address, these things, skills. And first of all, I can put my name, address, then career objective, then I can put skills, trainings, experience, and extra curriculum and job experiences. No signature is required for the resume here. This is the resume. If I make a CV, that should be elaborate according to their requirement. Then I have to make a cover letter. That means in cover letter, I have to prove that I am competent enough. I am fit for this position. So whatever Imam Bhai shared with us, we have to sell to the employer. What we are doing, we are selling our labor to the employer. So we have to sell to the employer to prove myself as a potential or exactly fit candidate. So if they find everything is okay, the resume according to their requirement, the cover letter is proving I am competent enough, I am the potential candidate, then HR department will call me for an interview with the approval of line managers. Okay, so we have to prepare the resume or CV accordingly for getting a good job, and I have to take some preparations for facing the interview. Whenever we are facing interview, just something do out of box, and you'll have to think, you'll have to research about the employer first, then you'll have to put the answers. For example, employer always does have some implied or latent or expressed demand from an employee. That means some demands are expressed, some demands are unexpressed. So if you can add something in the interview, what is in employer's mind, but he couldn't or he or she didn't express, if you can answer like this out of box, he or she will be impressed. That means he or she will think that you are more potential and you will be the human capital for this organization. Then they can try to select you as their member or employee. Then second part of the questions, first part of question, what is the procedure for applying a job? So these sort of things we shall have to consider for applying a job. Then second part, to retain a job. Actually, it's a very, very challenging, especially in Canada, to retain a good job, professional job or better job. Why? So many people from different countries are working here. Whatever I am sharing completely from my personal opinion and human resources management perspective. It's a very challenge to retain your job. Why? So, whatever I said, so many people from different countries are working. So some differences in culture, some differences in education, some differences in accent, and some differences in understanding, and some differences in leadership. So you will not get the exact leadership in every employer, whatever it is, whatever the country is, regardless of country in the world, leadership quality is different. For example, we appreciate the leadership of Mr. Rob Norris. Whatever we got here, he has an excellent leadership. We got here. So this is an example. But another person leadership might be quite different from Mr. Job Norris. And this is for everybody. So you'll have to think about the leadership. For example, you are working under a leader, working under a manager or a supervisor. First of all, you'll have to think about his strategy, about his working procedure, about his needs to get the things done. Then you'll have to satisfy him first. But your mission will be satisfy the manager or supervisor. Then your vision will be satisfy the company's goal. So you'll have to work to attain the company's goal. That is your vision, and to satisfy the manager or supervisors. That is your mission. So if you know how to do a teamwork, if you know how to avoid a conflict, if you know how to do your work smartly, you don't need to do hard work, but you need to work smartly. So what Canadian employers want, you'll have to work smartly, you have to work properly. Your time management should be good. You know, your time management should be good. Your like conflict management should be good. Your like maintenance of hierarchy of designation is good. Then I think and your team, if your teamwork is very good with your colleagues, co-workers from different countries, from different cultures, and I think it would be good to retain your job. So it's a quite challenge because most of the people are coming with different professional background. Some are coming with high professional background, but they are doing work here with a entry level job. So it's pretty difficult to match as a high professional personnel in other country with the entry level professional personnel in this country. So we have to minimize, we have to adjust these sort of things. Then we can retain in our own job. So these are the basic things to get a good job and to retain a good job in Canada. That is from my personal point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shafiq Chaudhary, for your
Thanks a
brief.
lot, Shafiqul Chaudhary, for brief information about the job, return a job. Now, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Kamarashish Dev. As we know, can you hear me, Kamarashish Dev?
Yes, hearing.
Can you
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Hello?
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
As you know, you work for the real estate sector. Okay, thanks. As we know, you work for real estate sector,
Yep.
and we know the Saskatchewan is booming, it's growing so fast, and especially Saskatchewan. That's why I'm going to ask you one question: that's what are the career opportunities in the real estate sector, and how can new immigrants get a job in a real estate sector? Can you explain it for us?
See, sure, yeah, of course. And the real estate industry is a very good industry. If you are thinking like, is a very good paying job, like if you can do it. So the real estate is based on your own. This is not a job. Nobody is going to pay you. This is you earn a commission there. There is in our province, in every province has a different rules and regulation for that, to become a realtor. In Saskatchewan is you have to be at least equivalence of grade 12 here in Canada, plus your IELTS if you come from abroad, other countries. So you have to have your IELTS 7, and this course is right now under British Columbia University, UBC University of British Columbia, and that is a course on a 2 years course. So, but if you want, you can finish it by 1 year, but you have to be you have to finish your course by 2 years. There is a phase 1, phase 2. Now phase 2 has a, like, phase 1 has a one course, and phase 2 right now is a, you can take as a residential, commercial, and farm. So this is the mandatory courses you have to take it here. Before it was very easy to get the course. Right now, little bit of difficult, because before the IELTS was 6, now, right now IELTS is 7. So then we have a lot of, on our foreigner, whoever coming from the outside of country, they're having a little bit of difficulty on this. And it's very, if anybody needs help to get in the real estate, they can touch with me. I have all the package ready to help, to where to go, and how much the fees, and everything in detail in my office, so I can help them. And I already did with few. You can see, like, the few of them already joined newly in the real estate from our community. Plus, whoever need any kind of information. But this is a very one of the highest paying job in Canada. Like, if you can do well, this is all about the people. If you're good with the people, it's a people to people contact. It's a very important thing. And in this business, if you are honest, and if you do your job properly, and you know your job, nobody can hold you on. You will go. So all of you know that I was student in Montreal, and I came to Saskatoon only $20 in my pocket in 2008. After that, I worked. I had a restaurant business. I did all these. Now I find my actual what I really wanted to do in the real estate. So it's a very, very good profession, but it's all about the people, and all about, like, how you dealing with your customer. And this business, your customer is a god. So just remember. And again, if anybody need any help on this doing the real estate course in Saskatchewan, I can help 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thanks.
Kamunashish Dev,
Thanks,
for
Kamal,
your
for nice information.
open-minded discussion.
Good for us to know everybody.
You always like that. You were very welcome all time. So thank you very much, Kamunashish Dev. So now I will go for Mr. Ahmad. I want to know one thing specifically in short, if he can manage. That is like, so you started your career as a marketing consultant in Ontario. My question is like, if I want to be, or if anyone wants to take this opportunity, take this career, so this could be the potential career field for new immigrant or for any immigrant. If so, how an immigrant can proceed on it?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, this can be an opportunity for anyone coming in, or who is already here for 1 or 2 years, but they're struggling to get into marketing because of the cultural difference, the understanding of the market, and the understanding of customers. The first thing we need to understand is marketing is fully focused on customers. And from Bangladesh, we understand Bangladeshi market, Bangladeshi customers very well. But to understand the psyche and the demand of Canadian customers, we need to do some research, do some studies to find out what the customers need. Because when someone is trying to get into marketing field, companies look for local context understanding. So to give you a perspective, someone who is going to work, who has a retail experience maybe, the companies will see that as you have the understanding of the customer, how to handle customer, what they are looking for, and then slowly you can transition into a marketing field. Also, as I did, I attached my Bangladeshi experience and education with Canadian market through the education I received here in Toronto. So whenever someone is trying to get into marketing, I would recommend to understand the market in depth. For that, either you can do go for education, or you can go for experience, related experience. Retail is definitely very close to marketing, and it gives you an understanding of the market, in-depth understanding of the market as well. Also, education helps. Getting some certification in digital marketing or any traditional marketing helps to give an impression of your understanding of the local market. So, to give you a quick answer to how to get into this field, I would recommend either to go through related experience like retail, sales, or any field related to marketing, or you can start with the education and some certifications. Short-term or long-term education studies will help to understand the market. And whenever you are applying or trying to get projects or consultancy, the client or the organization will find that, yes, you have the understanding of the market, you have the understanding of the customer, and they can rely on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nasser Ajad. I'll ask right now, to Mr. Ali. It's a shortcut question. So he explained everything in retail, what's going on in the retail in his previous answer. Mr. Ali, are you there? Mr. Ali? Okay, so I'll go for one question like I have in my mind right now to Mr. Norris, Rob Norris. So my question is basically here everyone explained from their perspective, like Mr. Shafiqat Chaudhary, Kamuna Shesh, Mr. Imamuddin, everyone, Ajad tried to explain from their perspective what should be the basic qualification for getting the good, better job in Canada. So that was from their perspective. So I want to ask you, I would like to ask you the question, same questions. What do you think from your perspective as you are from here? So what do you think, what the basic factor we are struggling, we immigrant struggling, so that we can overcome to get the better job? Please, Mr. Rob Norris.
Well, let me jump in because I one of the things that's obvious by the panelists and their participation today is there are crucial community leaders that essentially are guides. They serve the broader community, and you know, as Kaminashis made that generous offer, as he does so often to so many people, about, you know, if you have questions, contact him. There's a real community leadership piece and component here. So I want to highlight that the strategic environment within which people are operating or working or seek to be working isn't a vacuum, and having these community leaders, that's a crucial step. And so that's part of that networking proposition that we've been talking about previously. I think there are a couple of elements here as I reflect both about my time in government, but also prior to government. I was the coordinator of global relations at the University of Saskatchewan. And there's a notion of value-adding education. That is, asking whether it's a formal educational program that we've made some reference to, or a more experiential based educational program or certification. It's asking questions with some goals in mind. And that value added educational process or training process can be of tremendous help because those, either your instructors, your professors, your teachers, your those guiding tutorials or helping you in certifications, they often have their own very significant networks. And by asking the question, you know, it's what I call sightlines from learning to earning. You know, here's my goal. I'd like to go and work at that mine. I'd like to work at that metal fabrication shop. I'd like to go over to that salon and do some work. And those kind of questions demonstrate you've already done some research. You have an idea of at least an immediate, often intermediate goal. And can they help you? And more often than not, people are more than happy to help. You've got it's a social contract. You need to live up, as we all do, to our end of the deal. You got to work hard, offer people something new every day, bring your best energy, your A game. I had the privilege of working under Brad Wall. He brought his A game every day to the legislature. And that really sent a message for the rest of us. So we've got to keep our end of the bargain. But by asking those questions, there are often some steps that people will assist us in. So that there's a value-added education, asking analytical questions, but also questions that relate to your career goals. And I would add one more piece that in my experience has paid off in unexpected ways. And that is, are there opportunities for informational interviews? Could I have an interview? Could I sit down and I'm not applying for a job, but actually just better understand what the program is that I'm thinking about applying to, or the office that I'd really like to work in. Can I sit down and just spend 20 minutes or half an hour? And that shows a degree of initiative that can often help open doors unexpectedly. So those are a few pieces informally. What I would say is this: really spend some time to understand formally how the credentials you have or seek are recognized in the field that you want to work in. And that's a very often formalized, and it can be time-consuming process, but it really pays off. So I would say there are both informal elements to demonstrate initiative, asking those questions, looking for value-added educational opportunities, experiential learning opportunities. And then there are some formal steps, and really it's about meshing those two. Now I'm going to say this about, certainly from where I sit, again, I know there's so much suffering going on right now. We need to be focused on moving forward in new and creative ways. Newcomers in Canada and newcomers in Saskatchewan bring something of tremendous value. And I'll use Kamanashis as an example. We were just over in Bangladesh. His networks allowed us to connect with senior decision makers in Bangladesh. That's a value proposition for not simply governmental or academic leaders. It's also a huge value add for potential employers. So when we think about the need for Canada, and there are new ministerial mandates here, this isn't a contrivance. This is Canada must continue to diversify its exports, and its exports are going to help refuel Canada's economic rebound. Our newcomers have a lot of access to leading industry partners, leading governmental partners, leading community partners in countries around the world. And that's a value add proposition that I think a lot of newcomers can really help to reinforce to their potential employers or educators. You're not simply coming for a job. There's a value add proposition in hiring newcomers. And that is, you have an implicit and extensive understanding of many, many communities, often several countries, that Canada and Saskatchewan or any given province wants to be further engaged in. Don't underestimate, don't undersell what that knowledge and what your knowledge networks actually are worth. This is going to be increasingly important, and there's a real value proposition here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rob Norris, for your in brief explanation. So we are really understood what is your message. So yeah, if you want to ask any question, go ahead. I will just unmute. Come on, and just give me a moment. Come on, bhai, can you do unmute yourself, please? Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Ifti.
Okay. I would like to ask a question to Kamarajis again. What kind of advice would you give to the newcomers to get a good job in Saskatchewan or in Canada? Can you explain? I cannot see Kamarajis.
Just give me a moment. Oh.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Yeah, ask the question again. I think.
Yeah, I had the question.
I'm going to ask
I had the
question.
question.
Okay.
Is a very is a very important question, and I already give some snapshot before about like what for the newcomer. I would strongly suggest the newcomer who would like to come to Canada, or they're already in Canada here looking for job. Whatever your expertise, try to advance your education in here. So because Canadian government currently they are not fully recognizing in our certification. That's why you need a Canadian experience. So that's why I would suggest even like even any short course related to your education you can do. You can do it here, and then also do volunteering that the specific field you'd like to get in, and also like increase your language capability. Even in Canada, in two major languages, English and French. So I had the opportunity to learn French too. I can speak French. So this is how we need to we have to be when we came to any country, not even Canada. So instead of showing what we have to adapt fast where I am right now. Okay, then we can show what I have, like especially in the culture. So there is a big thing, like when we come here we always try to teach our culture to in here. But yes, this is a good thing, but first you adapt the culture where you are in right now. So this is applicable to even any job or anything. Like first understand how this job works here, so then get in, modify yourself based on that. So this is the most key point. Like you have to be, nobody comes to you and offer you job. You have to find your way, think outside the box, and advance your education in here. So because it happened few years ago, one of the high professional, he moved out from here in England, and he was very frustrated. He was about to leave his he said, I'm going to start working Walmart. I said, look, I am not a that higher educated like you, but I'm telling you, if you get in, like you guys are two people, your wife is already working, and she's making your bread and butter. So why don't you take a short course to the UFS related to your, and do, and then try yourself to getting a job. So then, and he was thinking very deeply, and what he did it right now, what he's doing really well. So that's why don't get frustrated. Don't just try to jump in whatever there. If you have some survival, like let's see, if your wife or your husband working, like one guy, one at a time can take that opportunity to advance your career. So then you can move forward. So that's all to advise to the newcomers. And any help in Saskatchewan related, anything you guys need. So I was with the community, I'm still with the community. So I'm here wide open to help you, guide you if you need anything.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you,
Along
Mr.
with Mr. Rob Norris. And I think if everybody knows here, not that Rob is our honorary council of Bangladesh for Saskatchewan. Okay,
Wow,
so
great.
So
Great.
Rob is specifically, Rob is working very hard for
Yeah.
our, our country, like in our
Thank
back home where we
you.
came from. So he spent his time and money, and now this is our time to show him some greatness to him, that so Rob was
Definitely.
always with us. Right now, I guess everyone knows Rob announced his
Definitely.
mayoral candidate, so we should support him.
We are gonna.
And because
I'm
we
gonna
need,
do that end of
and
this work. We have a plan. So yeah. So I have a plan to discuss about. I just booked some time for that. So thank you very much, Mr. Kamunashish. I always love to hear from you. That one thing, come to me. I'm always with you. I'm here to help you guys. This is a very inspiring sentence that I love to hear from you. That come to me. I'm always with you. I'm here to help you. Thank you very much, Kamunashish. So before I'm going to Mr. Shafiqut Chaudhary, I
all
will
right, thank you.
Mr. Imam. So, Mr. Imam, we are almost end of the chatting or discussion. So this is the maybe the last question for Mr. Imam. So, uh, can you tell us the? You told it came in all discussions. So I'm gonna ask you again. So, what should be the like specific way when people are coming here not to run behind the line job, or they should start study, they should take education from here first? What will be the like straightforward and very authentic way to take for the newcomer? Thank
Uh,
you.
Thank you so much,
I
Rob.
can hear. Yeah.
Yeah, now you are here. So Rob already told one thing, like informational interview. What I did myself to get a job, like when someone come here, so they can do the informational interview in their own profession, like this will also help a lot, like to know the how to get a job, the inside and outside, all about that. This is one. The other way I will say, the cold calling, which we missed. A lot of my clients are get job, like the newcomer, they come right away and get a job. It's cold calling is one of the best tools to find a job in Canada. So I will say my wife and so many people like get job through cold calling. It's like you have to research some who are hiring, like just make a phone call, just ask them whether they are hiring or not. If they are hiring, so you can express yourself, I am interested, and whether I can meet with you, or in a specific time, or ask for email or how to send the resume. So this will also help cold calling. And uh, I will say, like when people come to here, so they have I think one of our discussion already mentioned, they have to find short-term goal and long-term goal. So short-term goal, like you have to earn some money for your bread and butter, so you cannot just wait for a right away to get a like professional job. So in your short-term goal, for it can be 3 months, 6 months, yeah, even in a year. So if you can do short term this one, and you can prepare yourself long term, so you will be success. I know so many people who are working for federal government right now, in Ontario government and like city of Toronto. Here in Toronto, they started like a short term goal, or like a security guard, or as a retail store. But now they are in a very good position. Even someone is like barrister, doing their profession as a lawyer, someone is a doctor. So those are the things. So you have to take sometimes, and definitely you will be success in Canada.
Thank you very much, Mr. Imam. So one thing I want to mention for our viewers who are watching and who will be watching later. So one thing I can guarantee you guys from the panel, if you need any kind of help regarding the career, regarding the job, please contact us. And we are will be more than happy to help you guys. So here all panels are very experienced. They are working for a long time. So if you need any kind of help, any kind regarding the career, please feel free to contact to us. We will arrange to get the people who you are looking for. So now, if is going to ask a question, maybe you can go ahead.
Okay, I would like to ask a question to the Sofikur Chaudhary. A lot of people live and the immigrants live in the Canada, live in Canada long times, but they're doing odd jobs, means general jobs. But can you give us suggestion how they can get a job, better job?
Thank you so much again, Mr. Ifti, for your very important questions. I will just explain or answer this question in a short form because time is limited. Obviously, it is budgeted. So I will say most of the people who came from Canada, they are doing general job and they are earning like 100,000 BDT. If you consider like a present minimum wage $11.32 per hour, if you consider 160 hours, okay, then one is getting like 108,000 per month. So this is enough for the survival for like a family. I think this is good. That's why so many people are not very eager and very ambitious to get a good job. This is one part. But to answer your questions, I would like to add something more to get a good job, to lead a good life, especially in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan. So who are living in Saskatchewan for a long time, but still they are doing general job, I would suggest those immigrants, please go for get a job in a large employer like Health Authority. This is a large employer in Saskatchewan, and you can go for getting a job in city. This is also a large employer, and so many other large employers in Saskatchewan. If you can get a very entry level job, then you can take some decisions according to your desire. For example, you got a job in Health Authority or in city in a very entry level position, then you will get so many, you will have some, own software or own system where you will get all the vacancies whatever is lying with Health Authority or city or any other large employers. So then you can decide, if I want to get this position for this department, what sort of academic background I need. So earlier I already told, especially in Canada, your academic background is very important. Especially you'll have to take some courses or degree from Canada. That would be nice, because I wanna just mention about the discussion of Mr. Kamonashi's that he was telling the nurses from Philippines, they are getting good job here, but why our people are not getting good job? That is my practical experience, because I worked in human resource in Bangladesh. I saw the curriculum, the contents of nursing program in Bangladesh and Canada. There is a huge difference. Huge difference. So huge difference in terms of prerequisite to get the degree, and huge difference in terms of passing the degree. So the nurse is also a high demandable job and high paid job, one of the high paid jobs in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan. So actually, according to the practical scenario, there is a big difference in our academic system and in Canadian academic system. So that's why, to get a good job, who are staying here for a long time, they can get a entry level job, then they can decide what sort of degree, what sort of course. There are some short courses, there are some long courses, especially offering from Saskatchewan University of Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan Polytechnic, Saskatoon Business College, McKay. So many private vocational schools is lying in Saskatchewan. So if they have the patience, if they are a little bit enthusiastic, if they are energetic, if they have an ambition to get a good job, to lead a good life, they can obtain any of short courses or any of long courses according to their academic background. They can get a good job. So for example, I went through some curriculum of Saskatchewan Polytechnic University of Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan Business College, MECCE. So whatever curriculum they made for different programs or courses, exactly those will match with the requirement of like health authority, like city, or like other big organizations. So if you get a degree or if you get a course from this sort of an institution, especially for Saskatchewan, you will get a good job, because when they will be going for hiring a people, obviously they will give priority for your academic background, because you are working in the like health sector or city of Saskatoon. So you are conversant, you are familiar with the culture of the Saskatoon city of or Saskatoon Health Authority. But if you have the relevant degree or relevant course what they are asking for, if you have this thing, you can get a good job, because those are unionized. So whenever another thing, you'll have to match according to the seniority. For example, for one position, for example, administrative officer, they're asking for one administrative officer. You took the course or degree, and another 5% has the same degrees. So if you're senior in terms of hours, so they'll offer you for an interview. If anyone rejects, then they'll go for the next one. So this is a good opportunity for the immigrants who are staying here for a long time but still doing general job. They can get a good job. So I would suggest those immigrants, please research on these institutions and try to get a good get an entry level job in this sector, then try to get a good job. I think you would be succeeded. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Shafiqur Chowdhury. So before I go for Mr. Nasser Azad, I want to ask one, I don't know, is it silly question or not, to Mr. Rob Norris. That is, everyone here everyone were talking about how I can be accountant, how I can be businessman, how I can be the retail, blah, blah. But my question is, if any immigrants wants to be politician, like you here, what's the procedure? If any immigrants wants to be the politician here, please, Rob, can you do the unmute yourself? I was trying myself, but it's not working. It's good now. Yeah.
Well, I think this is a really, really pressing conversation. You know, when we talk about 110,000 newcomers to Saskatchewan over the course of the last decade or so, or if we just want to step back further into the Canadian context, we need to see city councils, we need to see the legislative assemblies, we need to see the Parliament of Canada and other governing bodies reflect our increasingly diverse and dynamic communities. And so for me, I would go so far as to say is there's an imperative to make sure that our governing institutions reflect and mirror the changing nature and really the dynamic nature of contemporary Canada. The best way to do that is to make sure that community leaders and those engaged in community activities understand that that's a gateway into a more formalized political series of networks, and that's regardless of partisanship. It's regardless of party. It's simply to say, how can we make sure that there are more voices from increasing just an increasing diverse array of communities from the cities and rural municipalities across the country. I think this is an imperative question. I'm not certain we're doing a great job, to be candid. We see some real successes, but there's a lot more work to do. And so I think it's about putting it right on the table, right up front. And we're seeing, I think, some success, certainly in getting that conversation going through a gender lens. We need to have more women participating in public life, and we need to see a broader array and a greater array of representation from a variety of newcomer communities, as well as a broader array, probably, you know, it's fair to say, of professions too. I always say to people, you know, the more when I had the privilege of being minister, the more I knew, the more I could talk to my colleagues, the more that I could learn, both on the ground in the communities, in constituencies, including Saskatoon Greystone that I had the privilege of representing. Ideally, the better job I could do. And so I would say it's an imperative, and I would welcome all in any ideas about ways to foster and facilitate greater diversity and having our legislative assemblies provincially and the Parliament of Canada reflect that diversity. I think there are some real success stories, but there's a lot more work to do, and I think it should be among the first questions that we ask, especially our kids. Who wants to be premier? Who wants to be prime minister? Who wants to be mayor? Who wants to serve on council? Who wants to go into the Chamber of Commerce? Those are the questions that will prompt, I hope, what some would consider to be those big dreams.
Right. Thank you very much, Rob Norris. So now, as we said, we are almost end of our program. So now I want to request Mr. Nasser Azad to tell, it's like kind of from your experience, advice, as we are talking about our job market and everything, like for the newcomer, what's your suggestion? What's your advice? Who is coming newly or who already spent 2 or 3 hours working as a like normal job or job, and what's your suggestion to get into line job or like preferable like line job, you can say professional job, something like that? Thank you.
Thank you. To get into the field, as I said, that it can be, it requires some struggles sometimes, and the average can go from 4 months to even a year. But my suggestion would be to have the tenacity and to focus, to have the focus, because sometimes when we start working and when some people start working in different sector and they don't find the time, or they are not focused enough to invest some time, study or research after their job, and that pushes the agenda behind. So if someone is very focused, someone is determined, I think it is very much possible. It just requires more tenacity, more effort from individual perspective. And also we'll have to keep an open mind about learning. There will always be a learning phase for a newcomer to come into a new country. From a personal perspective to a professional perspective, there are learning curves, and people have to accept that and have an open mind to go through the process step by step. First, do some research, talk to the people who are already into the industry. What do you need to do? Do you need any education? Do you need any certification? Do you need any experience that will help you to land that preferred job or go into preferred sector? And also, I would emphasize, as Mr. Rob Norris said, that entrepreneurship is going to be a key aspect in future, and it's not going to be only about how can I get a job, and it's going to be where the job industry or the job market is going, and how can I create more jobs, and how can I prepare myself for the future, not what's happening right now, but do some research about what's going to happen in next 5 years, so that I am prepared better than anyone else in the competition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Ifti to ask next question, please.
Okay. I love to ask a question to Rob Norris. We all know you visited Bangladesh just can you share the experience of our country? Just we love to hear from your point of view.
Well, what an honor it was to be in Bangladesh. It was in February, and it was a kind of one of the last missions that I participated on pre-COVID. So I've had an opportunity to reflect on it quite a bit over the recent weeks. I would say there are 3 or 4 defining features. It is a country of optimism. And that optimism I saw through various lenses, by visiting academic institutions, very esteemed academic institutions that are continuing, in a sense, this very conversation, program offerings, research capacities, partnerships, including partnerships back here in Saskatchewan, to sit down with entrepreneurs and to hear growth strategies that were taking into account geopolitics and geoeconomics, but still very, very bullish. Then to see government policies. There's a deep sea port being built. Really, the country maximizing its strategic location within Asia, and so governmentally, through industry, through academia, and certainly at the community-based level, that spirit of optimism, that spirit of really planning for and positioning Bangladesh for the future, I thought was something, well, frankly, it's going to stay with me forever. The other piece was, Bangladesh profound humanitarian contribution. When we see what's going on with the Rohingya crisis and the role that Bangladesh is playing in really undertaking its very best to try to help as many as it can, that sends a powerful message to the world. It's a message that's been received in Canada. Certainly conversations in Ottawa that I've been part of or privy to, where the Canadian government really, really appreciates that kind of effort. Then I would say, so you've got this optimism, then you also have this great humanitarian impulse that I think is hardwired into the very founding of Bangladesh. And then, frankly, I see this real emphasis on global engagement, and this is a very promising trait. Maybe 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, we would have taken that global impulse for granted, but now we know we can't. We know how important it is to send those messages about the importance of trade and the importance of immigration and the importance of study abroad opportunities. We're hearing other messages from other parts of the world, and it's so refreshing to have Bangladesh at the table. As Kaman Asha said, we were able to meet the Honorable Sheikh Hasina. She was here in Canada to participate in the G7 meetings. They were held in Quebec. When they were done, she went to Toronto, and the Saskatchewan delegation, led by our Deputy Premier Gord Wyant and our Trade Minister Jeremy Harrison, as well as about a dozen of us, she took the time to sit and meet with the Saskatchewan delegation. We flew into Toronto. We had our discussion, our dialogue directly with the Prime Minister. There is nothing that sends a more powerful message about being willing to be a global partner and the priority of global engagement than that kind of effort. So in summary, the energy, the optimism, that commitment to humanitarian assistance, that impulse to help others, and this really, really important value of global engagement. Those are two or three things. And then frankly, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, some of the best food I've ever tasted anywhere. What a remarkable treat to sit down with so many friends, some pre-existing friends and some new friends. It was a true pleasure, a true honor, and I shall never forget that visit to Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rob Norris, to share your experience in Bangladesh. So I just want to read one comment. She said, Jasmine Ahmed, we love to see Rob Norris wearing Punjabi. Thanks for visiting Bangladesh. So it's a nice comment. So one comment is like, I want to know what is the main source of income in Saskatchewan, which is very much sharing economy in Canada, and what is the percentage? Does anyone talk about a little bit about it?
Sure, I'm happy. Again, I'll just go back to especially as it relates to our exports. Saskatchewan exports were up in the first quarter of 2020. Saskatchewan is among the most successful of provinces when it comes to global engagement. And so, we can think about food. Saskatchewan has almost 50% of Canada's arable land. And when we think about our neighboring provinces, you sit in Saskatoon and you can kind of draw concentric circles out into about 80% of Canada's agricultural lands or arable lands. And so Saskatoon is centrally located. That's a crucial part of our economy. So that food piece, and it's only going to get bigger, especially given the provinces and the Premier's recent announcement, $4 billion investment in irrigation. So leading the way in helping bolster global food security, all the way from research undertaking the Canadian Light Source Synchrotron, the University of Saskatchewan, and a variety of other entities and institutions, Global Institute for Food Security, all the way through to production. And you're going to see increasing value add opportunities. Certainly on the fuel piece, Saskatchewan, second largest oil producer in the country. Recently, the Conference Board of Canada came out and said Saskatoon has some real vulnerabilities regarding COVID, but if we see movement on projects like pipelines, that's going to help bolster Saskatchewan and Saskatoon's economy. And so we're delighted to see some recent progress regarding pipelines. That's real bottom line business opportunities and jobs for Saskatoon and for Saskatchewan. And then when we think about fertilizer, when we think about our potash mines, we know how important those are, across the country and around the world. So the easy answer is exports are up just over 4% in the first quarter. They're being driven by crude oil, canola, pulses, ag machinery, oats and soybeans. You can see what that really means, especially when we think in the context of our connection between Saskatchewan and Bangladesh. We can think about pulse crops, potash, and increasingly our connections in entrepreneurial activities. I hope that gives you a bit of a snapshot in some areas that, even in the midst of COVID, have offered some signs of optimism.
Thank you very much, Rob Norris. I think Mr. Nazmur Shaun got his answer. So I just want to show one more comments. I think it has been discussed throughout the panel. So it was to Mr. Imam. How do you prepare for career planning as a newcomers? To Imam Bhai, how do I deal with the lack of Canadian experience during a job interviews as a newcomers? So I believe it has been discussed. So Imam Bhai, do you want to add anything extra, or it has been discussed?
Has been discussed, but I just want to thank you for asking. Like, you have to, if you career plan, you have to see like Job Bank in Canada, a website. So it's labor market trend, like what will be if you take a course or certification, maybe jobs will not be available in the market. So it's like you have to see the forecast, like, or you can discuss with a career consultant or employment counselor, like what will be the job sector look like, will be like next 5 years. So then it will help you to prepare. And also there are a lot of free career cruising, like to like match with your skills, interest, and also the job market. So that will help you to prepare your career planning. And in without Canadian experience, I think if you have some experience in other countries like banking or others, so it will work in Canada. Some experience you can just bring it to here, how you prepare your resume, how you presented your resume, all of your experience. If you choose a new career which you don't have the experience, relevant experience, you can do some volunteering, even it can be like 1 week, even 2 weeks. So that will also help you to enter into the Canadian job market. Thank you.
Thank you, Mumbai. So we are very end of the program. So I would request from the panel, if you guys have any question to the Rob, you can raise your hand. I will just give you the floor. That will be like, okay, Imam Bhai, he raised his, Imam Bhai, please go ahead.
I am very happy and excited to hear from the Rob, like he visited Bangladesh and how he mentioned like Bangladesh humanitarian help to the Rohingya crisis. So these are really encouraging. In Toronto, I have another member of parliament, Nathaniel H. Smith, who also visited 2 years ago in Bangladesh. Before he was going, he just asked whether I know someone he can meet. So he met one of my like mentor, Barrister Manjur Hassan. He was, when he come back, I just asked how you feel how was your visit in Bangladesh. He was also explained very much the entertain he has received. It was excellent. And now I have heard from the Rob, then how he presented Bangladesh. This is really amazing, and thank you so much for like sharing your experience visiting in Bangladesh.
Thank you, Mumbai. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Just give me, let me unmute you, Kamanashish. Just give me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Did it? Yes. I know. Yeah. On your announced day, I was lucky to be present. So then you did announce that if you become elected for mayor, you will do a area of praise for immigration for especially for city of Saskatoon. Can you explain a little bit what is that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Everyone, I guess, community will be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk a little bit about it right now. There'll be more details coming forward. Essentially, the federal government has provided municipalities an opportunity to have their own what I'll call signature programs in immigration. And so, as part of my announcement, I said that I would be seeking to move forward with the initiative called Paris of the Prairies. Immigrant nominee program for Saskatoon. So I'm very, very bullish on this. As I said, as the Minister of Immigration for Saskatchewan, I laid out a framework and a strategy. We continue to expand on and improve it, but essentially that baseline strategy remains in place. A lot of different categories have changed. We've had to respond to different federal pressures, sometimes pressures on the ground here. What I want to do is I want to see Saskatoon be the captain of its own ship when it comes to immigration. That is, really offer predictable, stable, secure paths to successful immigration, including investment opportunities, including student opportunities. Obviously, there's a family component that's going to be part of this. So, if I have the privilege of serving as the mayor of Saskatoon, this is going to be a very high priority, and we're gonna tap into existing networks and capacities that we have provincially and nationally to move forward on this. This is going to be a vital priority for us going forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Norris. So, do anybody has any question to Rob Norris? So yeah, I just want to mention one thing. Like he has a very huge career in the politics, and he was like, as I mentioned before, he was working as a Ministry of Labor, Employment, Immigration. So recently, he announced himself as a candidate of Mayor Saskatoon 2020. So if you guys have any question related this, you can also welcome to ask any question related upcoming election as a candidate. Do you guys have any question? Anybody? Okay, just I can't hear Shafiqur. Just give me a moment. Yeah, go ahead.
Just I don't have any. Actually, I don't have any question. Just I would like to appreciate him for his candidature for the mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that greatly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ajad, do you have anything?
Not specifically. I don't have any deep knowledge about Saskatchewan, but I appreciate your time, because time is very important for you, I guess, and to provide 2 hours, it's immense, and it will help a lot of people. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm just honored to be asked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ifti, do you have anything? I want to give the conclusion end of the time. So do you have anything, Ifti?
Oh yeah, I just thanks to the Rob Norris. Special thanks to him. Yeah, he's very busy person, and he make the time for us. It's good for everybody, because now our community knows about him, and I know how he's supportive, and I just congratulate him to candidate for mayor, and I hope for him the best. Thanks.
Well, I really appreciate that. I had the privilege of again, thanks to Kaminash's meeting the mayor of Silet. We during our mission to Bangladesh, and I just see the significance on the ground in a community like Silet that local governance matters profoundly to people's lives. It matters profoundly to the business community, and it matters profoundly to the life of a nation, frankly. And again, that's going to be one of the memories I treasure, was that meeting with the mayor.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing I want to mention here. So I was seeing a post from Mr. Arif. Why do we support Mr. Rob Norris? So I was amazed by reading that one. After that, I went through your page. I was really amazed by seeing the post, and Mr. Arif was saying, he was explaining few things, and Mr. Kamunashis also shared that thing. Why should we support? Definitely, we are gonna support you. So for the best. So basically, we sincerely want to thank for your valuable time. We do really appreciate your time, and I know the time is this is the crucial time for you. Every second counts. So I want to thank everyone here, the participants here. I want to thank for their valuable time. As we know, this is here in Canada, it's the busiest life for everyone. So they gave us time. I really do appreciate for that. I want to special thanks to Rob Norris. So as his time is more valuable than right now, if you consider. So thank you very much. Thanks everyone to come into the journey and talk each other. Got to know so many people, got to know so many things, and especially got to know Mr. Rob Norris. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.